The weather's been brutal. 100 degrees for almost 10 days. We're almost out of it. And yet, a lot of stuff has still made it. Let's go over a few things and what we've been doing. Wow. Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California. And yes, we have been over 100 degrees. It was 110, I think it was yesterday. Now we've got a storm coming through. They're claiming we're going to get rain. We got the notice that they will be shutting off our electricity soon, so we will see if they do it or not. This is not due to the flex system that they've got. This is due to wildfires. And because we're in an area that is somewhat wooded, I guess you could say, or a fire danger, that they have decided that this is an area that, well, maybe they should just shut off the electricity when the storm comes in. We're going to have wind damage, they say. Again, this is just a prediction. And of course, we could have lightning. If they shut the power off your transformers that are all over, and yes, see, we've got one up there. Those things get hot, and if they get hit by lightning, they could just blow. So I guess if it's cool, maybe it won't attract the lightning, maybe it won't be as bad. And on top of that, see all the power lines? If any of these power lines get hit, and they're full of electricity and they fall, they could quickly start a fire. Being off, they would just fall. There'd be nothing to start it. That's not to say lightning won't start it. I will say I am grateful for the garden because all in all, it's made it through. We've been picking watermelon, the squash is still growing, tomatoes are growing, everything seems to still be growing. Greens are still growing, believe it or not. My meadow is growing. I water once a day, generally at night. I love coming out here at night. It's peaceful, it's quiet, it's beautiful, and it's cool. So I come through and I just walk through and water everything at night. That has done the trick. I know a lot of people have lost things, but you know, a lot of, like, what, see down there, that's a geranium. I've got a couple of them struggling. I've got one under one chair. I think it just died back from the heat. That one's still making it. A lot of stuff in the ground is having an issue. The totes are not. I have my holes up. They've got 1 to 2 inches of water. Though they may droop during the day, they just, boom, pop back at night, and they're absolutely gorgeous. Being that we're under a cloud cover right now, nothing has drooped. Normally at this time, even though we're morning, everything would be drooped down, which is normal because the plant is pulling the water back into the roots to protect the plant itself. And this way there's not a lot of water in the leaves, so it won't burn as bad when the sun is out. And as soon as the sun goes down, all the leaves start to pop back up. And by evening, everything looks normal. You would never even know what it had looked like just earlier on. So I am very grateful that everything has done really good. Container gardening has worked for me. I've got totes around. All the totes, I haven't lost anything in totes. I did have a grow bag that didn't do good. I tried to water it, it dried too much, so I just lost in one tote. I've only got 2 grow bags going. The other one, the peppers, I kept watering and watering, and peppers can take dryness. So peppers would be the only thing for me to use grow bags. But the buckets did well, the totes did well, whether they were on the chair. Here I've got both, as you can see, on the chair and on the ground. And they've done really, really well. All the squash here made it. I haven't lost a single one. And I'm still picking. I saw some squash in there yesterday, so that is really good. Look at that. I don't know if you can see it, but those are the dragonflies zipping around. Now, all this is in the ground. I don't know how it stays so green with the heat, but it is, and it's up against a hot wall, and it's doing fabulous. I water it at night, just like I water everything else, no different. I have this place spotted in buckets. There's a bucket there. There's a bucket back there, a black one. I got that from my neighbor. They had painted their house years ago, and they had some buckets, so they let me take that. So I've got the moringa planted in there. Look at the moringa, isn't that gorgeous? So the moringa is in a 5-gallon bucket. This is one I used to use for a fountain, and now I set it up for plants. And that I just moved over there because I was going to do something with it, and I just kind of pushed it there, and I see weeds growing in there. See, it's not really even set up, and some walking onions, so I'll probably change that up in the winter. And I've got a couple little things. There's another container. This is something from Halloween. Picked it up for $1 at the 99-cent store, probably cheaper after Halloween. That's kind of just a round black container, and then there's some other little containers in there. Now, why would I say this could save this area? Because every container that's sitting on the ground, including the rocks, is going to have water under it. So even though it dries out completely, there's still some water under the container. So when I go through and water all this and water the containers there, it's keeping enough dampness for everything to survive the 100 to 110 degree weather during the day. Again, I only water once a day. Once we get through this heat wave, I can go back to every other day. That's generally what I do. I haven't set up much there, but all in all, I mean, it's still doing what it's been doing, so nothing different there. So I think that's why we're making it through the heat pretty good. Like I said, I'm really happy. I took apart my box garden, and I'll be setting up more as we go. We can grow a lot in the fall. All the brassicas do fabulous here. If you've got weather that's not freezing, this is the time to start. Well, not in the heat wave, but you can start your seeds. And you can grow tomatoes out here until we freeze, and we don't really freeze. We can grow all the different brassicas. We can grow cabbage. Squash might be a little late to start because the plant would have to be established to give you squash, and that's the problem come October, November especially, weather starts to cool. If you've got established squash, like I've got all through there, zucchinis and different things, they may make it through the winter until we get a freeze. And we do get freezes out here, so if it freezes, they'll die back. If we don't quite get 32 degrees, but we get in the upper 30s, they'll continue to grow and throw some squash. But to start them now for a fall garden, no. Now would be, you can start tomatoes. I can still do tomatoes. Better to have an established plant, but I have done tomatoes this time of the year. Broccoli, kale, collard, anything like that you can do. Cabbage you can do. Lettuce loves this time of the year. So I'll be growing a ton of lettuce. Cilantro, dill I've got growing now. So there's a lot of things like that. And pretty soon we can start planting our onions, even though if you're in an area that gets cold, they'll go dormant. But then as soon as spring comes, they'll start to grow again. I have garlic chives down there. They do good all year round, and they love it when it cools down. So think of the different things that you can grow in your area. Google it, see what it says. What can I grow in my city in the fall? And then you'll know. But the heat is really one of the toughest things to get through, because if you go out in 100 degrees and water your plants, literally spray the plants, what you've done, think about it, is you've wet the leaves, the sun is shining, and what it's happening is you're cooking the leaves. As if you would take some green leaves, toss them in a pot, turn on the heat, turn it off, you've cooked them. If the leaves get wet, I think that's the biggest issue. That's when you lose a lot of plants. So I do not touch the leaves with water. If I come out here to hit something with water for whatever reason and it accidentally hits the leaves when it's 100 degrees, you'll see burn spots on the leaves. Any place that got water on it will burn. So you want to keep the water away from your plants when it's super hot under the sun, because that's what's going to fry your plants. Water at the base. If you feel you have to water your plants during the day, do one thing: never just turn on the water, because if you've got your hose laying next to a plant, a tree, a squash plant, anywhere, and it comes out at 130 degrees, it will cook the roots. You may not be able to get it cooled down quick enough. So you don't just turn on your hose. You make sure your hose is nowhere near your plants. And that's what I do. Kind of shoot it down the hill here where there's nothing growing but some weeds. And as soon as I touch it and I see it's cool, then I go for it. And that's basically it. I kind of followed my own rules, and it's worked. And Gary's garden's doing okay, and my garden's doing okay. Well, you can see it. And you've heard the news. Look at this. I've got another watermelon to pick here. I picked the other one already, so I've got those done. And now I think it's going to start some watermelon, even though it may be a little, it might be a little late. Some of them don't look so good, but I'm going to still try. I have nothing to lose. If they don't grow, everything gets composted in, and I make my own soil. This is exciting. you see all those vines growing? That's off the root cuttings. Go back and see the video. And I've got some other exciting stuff to talk about that I have seen in here, and I think we're all going to be surprised at what actually lives in our compost. That's fabulous. So I just wanted to kind of spin around and tell you we're almost out. I think we have one more day to go, and then we'll be back, hopefully they say, into the 80s. But today again, it's going to be at least 100, if not 101, 102. We do have cloud cover, and they are saying rain, but we had a little bit of rain yesterday, and that was just a little bit. But today so far, no. So we'll see how the day goes. And I wanted to tell you we're all doing fine. I hope you're doing fine. Stay cool, stay hydrated. I've been drinking pomegranate. I've been drinking cucumber drinks. I make a cucumber drink. Today I think I'll bring, ooh, here comes the wind. That's what they said. The moment we get windy, they're going to start shutting off electricity. So we'll see how this all goes. So I've been drinking things from the garden. I haven't been that hungry, and I think it's been the heat. So what I do is I make a drink, and I use fresh vegetables from the garden, and then I make a water drink is what I do. And if you're interested, ask me and I'll see if I can put something together on that, because it's kind of very different. I've never seen anybody do a drink like I do. And Gary's doing it now. He's doing it with passion fruit. He goes, hey, if you do it, I can do it too. So I hope I've given you kind of a touch base, because a lot of you have asked how the heat's going. And like I said, it's going to be, I don't know, they're calling it a record. A lot of places had record highs. I think we hit it. They had a heat index one day saying we were 120. It felt like 120. I think it was wrong, but it was on the Apple phone, the weather. It wasn't 120, but it felt like 120, and then it was other areas around us 110, 115. But the highest we really got, as far as I know, was about 110 for quite a few days. And the dogs have air. They have a room, and they can go in and out of their room. There's a doggy door, and if they didn't want to stay in there, I locked them in there sometimes. We don't have air. I haven't had air since we've lived here, but I do have an air conditioner, a little tiny window one in a bedroom if I needed it for any reason. Let's say I want to run my computer. I have a small computer in there, so I don't have to overheat. You don't want to overheat a computer. The fans go on, and there's no reason to overheat. Yeah, we've got the wind starting. So everybody stay well, stay hydrated, and keep in mind the water is so important for us to drink. Sometimes we need a little electrolytes in our body, and that's why it's good if you've got a garden going, or you can get something organic. You can make a little bit of a drink that has electrolytes, because sometimes if you drink too much water, you actually pull the salts and electrolytes out of your body. So by drinking something, even a splash of grape juice in your water, a splash of something, or tea, you'll utilize the water, from what I understand, a whole lot better than if you just drink it all day plain. So with that, have a wonderful, wonderful day. If you're in an area where you're hot, stay cool. And if you're in a cool area, stay warm. And don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye.